Hello, Emma G. I am absolutely thrilled um, just to be talking with you today and to share how amazing you are and what you're doing for humanity and especially teenagers. For those who don't know Emma G works with kids to help them tap into their beautifully creative selves to turn their own struggles into their own anthemic songs and learn life lessons of resilience, optimism, and self-love. So thank you so much and welcome, Emma G.
Oh my
Singer,
goodness.
Songwriter extraordinaire. Woo!
What an introduction. My goodness. Thank you. It's great to be here, Cheryl. It's great to see you. How's it
Oh,
going?
awesome. That's so often. So I would just like to start by asking you. Now you have two books, and your first book is
Kind
very
of.
much
Kind of. I've got one book and I'm working on my second.
you're working on your second. Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us what brought you to write your first book?
Sure. So it's I tuned into a live stream from one of our mentors, Angela Laurie, a couple of months ago, and she was talking about, uh, you know, the roles that we play in society, and you know, similar to like when you were a teenager and you like to take those quizzes, those random quizzes in magazines or in newspapers, or when I was a teenager, it was on online on MySpace and Bebo, and as she was telling us these different roles that people play, I was like, well, what am I? And she made it very clear that I was a storyteller because I've been a songwriter since I was like 5 years old. And yeah, it just kind of that turned into a conversation with one of my friends back in New Zealand, where I'm from, who was telling me that I have lived a very full life, and was congratulating me on my accolades, especially since moving to the States. And he said randomly, he's like, "Oh, you should write a book." And I was like, "What? What? Why would I do that?" And his response was, like, you've achieved so much more than many people have in their 60, 70 years of life. And which I thought was a little bit rich, but no matter. And I looked at him and I was like, well, okay, what would I even write about? And then it sort of dawned on me that as a songwriter, yes, I've been a storyteller my entire life, because every song has been a chapter of my life. It is represented a time of overcoming, it's represented a time of struggle, it's represented a time of me learning more about who I am and digging deeper into what makes me, who I am, and how I want to serve the world, and hopefully, gives myself and the listener an opportunity to learn, grow, and heal themselves, because music is powerful. And so every song that I've written, I've healed myself through, and I hope that I can do that with other people. So that's why I decided to write this book. It was a random conversation on Snapchat that sort of evolved into this crazy thing, and now I'm working on my second book, and life's a roller coaster.
That is so cool, so exciting. So writing songs since you were 5 years old.
Yeah.
You are the second person that I met like that. I had the privilege of meeting Anne Mortefe. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a Canadian, well known in Canada, singer songwriter.
Okay.
And she, same thing, and is still healing the world through her songs. And so we need more people like you. And I just love to know that you're working with others and helping others do what you do. So that brings us to your second book. And do you have the name for your second book yet?
I do, and it took me a while to figure it out, because it's much like I'm guessing like naming your child. You kind of like, how do I encompass all of what my hopes and dreams into a name? But it's called Songwriting for Teenagers, a parent's guide to helping your depressed or anxious child, or kid rather. So yeah, whereas my first book is very much focused on my music, and then how you as a songwriter or as a teenager can apply the same songwriting principles and creative outlets to your own life. This is a guide for a parent who has a child, or teenager rather, who is going through the struggles of normal teenage life, combined with having to juggle at-home learning, living in isolation because we're living in a pandemic. These are crazy times. Figuring out who I am without, necessarily being able to socialize in the same capacity and form, let alone, even as it is in the last 15 years with the advent of social media, we've already, started having to reinvent what socialization means and what it looks like and what it tastes like, so with all that sort of generational confusion and miscommunication and misunderstanding, this book is focused on how to regain clarity on how to connect with your child through creative writing and singing.
Right, it's so exciting. And one of the biggest reasons I just really wanted to interview you is to just get your take on it. I just so believe in the work that you do. And in my own work, what I've discovered, I do chakra readings. I'm Cheryl, the chakra shaman, and I help people heal like you've healed and become empowered. And one of the things that I've discovered is that creative people who are naturally artists, naturally creative, are very sensitive. So I don't want to stereotype people, but this is over my years of work. When I first started teaching meditation years ago, what I discovered was that the artists were the ones that I just loved working with because they were just so sensitive on every level, emotionally, energetically, physically. I'm like, wow. And they could access their subconscious through the type of meditation that I teach and really learn to express themselves, and helping people do that to me is just so important. And I think of, often what I also see is that this type of sensitivity, that we're born sensitive. Our soul decided to come and be a human being as a very emotionally sensitive person. And what happens with a lot of sensitive people who don't find a creative avenue, a creative outlet where they can express themselves, they turn to alcohol or drugs because it's just too hard to be that sensitive. It's just really hard. And so to me, it's a healthy way to channel this sensitivity that they feel so deeply. And then they express through their art, whatever that is, poetry, music, songwriting, art in any fashion. And so finding teenagers or kids and working with them so early on in life, I just think helps humanity, both in the work that you're doing, but also you're helping them express themselves, which to me helps people. So can you tell us some of your experiences with this, please?
Well, first of all, you've hit it right on the head. However, don't tell anybody that I'm sensitive because I will fight tooth and nail. No, it's a funny thing because, I think it's a really complex issue. On one hand, humanity at the moment fails to realize how powerful vulnerability and love and caring and empathy are. But on the other hand, we've got this struggle, this power struggle, especially we've seen it over the last 4 years in this country alone, around, what it is to be a strong woman, what it means to be a strong Black woman, what it means to be a strong man, what it means to be a healthy man, what it means to coexist in a world where we can both honor and celebrate each other's strengths and lack of strengths. And I say that because I don't see it as a weakness to feel. I don't see it as a weakness to lean into you're vulnerable. So that's kind of one thing. The other thing is obviously, as I was raised in another country, and as I've lived here for the last 6 years and learned more about how the pressures of society have on women in particular, me not being a man, but, you know, I definitely identify as female. I've noticed how there's a lot of just confusion around feeling and a lot of trepidation around what it means to feel and lean into those feelings. So I say all that because I, as an artist, have also flirted a lot with, you know, outward strength. So, you know, I've done bodybuilding, I've done CrossFit, I've done Krav Maga, I've done, you know, personal training, I studied automotive to become a mechanic, you know, and so all of these outwardly masculine things that we, you know, that we're sort of trained to believe are strong things, then to counterbalance that with something as sensitive, as empathetic as songwriting. It's important to recognize that balance, because you're completely right. We are raising our children, raising our teenagers to be these really outwardly, like, make sure you get a 4.0 on on your GPA. Make sure you strive for the best. Make sure that, you know, competition, what competition? You're number one. Everything is like very, very go, aim high, kick everyone in the ass, you know, take no prisoners type thing, which is a very masculine mindset. And then to wonder why, and I forget the term that we have at the moment, of like affluent syndrome or whatever. The name escapes me. I was reading about this just yesterday. You know, those who are high achievers are often struggling the most because they're striving for so much that the one sign of weakness, whatever that may look like for their family or community, is almost like a failure. And what songwriting, what music is for me, is like an opportunity to recognize that you don't fail, you grow. That is just fact. You know, you're not going to die tomorrow because you didn't get 100% on your last SAT score. You know, and secondly, you know, how are you going to counterbalance all of that aggression that you've got going on in your mind? At the moment, we're seeing an influx of young people who, and I say at the moment, this has been something that's been going on since before I was a teenager, where young people are turning to drugs and alcohol. Absolutely. They're turning to underage sex. They're turning to, which is, you know, I say that because when you're 14 years old, it's not that intimacy is an issue. It's the fact that you are not emotionally, physically, or mentally equipped to handle those, you know, those experiences. Facts. And they're turning to, you know, self-harm. And I know that because that was me. I was raped for the first time when I was 12 years old. I was raped again on my 15th birthday from my uncle. I have had had a long history of depression, sexual assault, like multiple sexual assaults on top of that, abuse from domestic partners from the age of 15. I find myself in horrendous situations. You know, I've had friends and ex-boyfriends commit suicide. I've lost friends to alcohol abuse and drug abuse, you know, and I'm 32. So I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. We didn't have nearly the amount of stress that we have now. You know, add to that we're also living through a pandemic, a global pandemic. Add to that we're socially isolated. Add to that we're at school homeschooling. Add to that you know, parents are going absolutely nuts because their workloads have somehow doubled or tripled because we're working at home. You know, it's overwhelming. And when you're constantly conditioned to go, achieve high and be the best you can be, but you can't even escape from your own, you know, 4 people that are living at home, you need an outlet. You need to balance it out. You need to soften and lean into your feminine. You need to lean into your creative. And you know, that's when you learn the power of that, you not only can help yourself heal and learn more about who you are and grow, like just become the best version of yourself, but as a result, if you can't see the light, be the light, right? As a result, you end up empowering those around you, your peers, your parents even, to also be okay with not being okay and expressing themselves through something as powerful as music, to then connect and re-establish those communication tools that we've just forgotten about because we're so focused on being the best and showing no falter, yet we're all struggling. Does that kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. And
sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there. I was just like,
it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful you got going, and that's, it's like, first I just want to say my deepest compassion for all that you've gone through, really and truly. And also I love how you express it from a perspective of the masculine and the divine feminine. We have the divine masculine, and that's what the Western world is all about. It's all expressive accomplishment. And I look at that as sort of the right side. It's very expressive. We need to balance that with vulnerability, which is, and the receptive side. And so to me, music, art, anything creative is about the divine feminine. It's about something moving through us. We have to receive it to express it. It's like it grows enough. It grows in us. It's all that receptive side, and if we were all more, if our culture supported more of this sort of thing, the divine feminine, we'd be a much more balanced society. And so by people developing that and getting more in touch with that side of themselves, however that looks, we're all unique in that way. But there is so much that is meant to be expressed through us, and it's allowing that. It's receiving it. It's, music is not like learning how to be a mechanic, like you said. It doesn't, sure, you learn to play an instrument, you learn to sing, you develop the skills, but it's that, to me, it's all energetic. It has to flow through us. It has to through us. We can't make it happen in the same way we do with so many other things. And to me, it's very much the sacral chakra. That's all creativity. The second chakra, you're familiar with the chakras, and then it's expressing it, the throat chakra, whether it's with a paintbrush or the voice through song, whatever that is. And to get that energy flowing in that direction helps us become much, much better people, and to learn that skill at a young age. So can you tell us your, you said that these, you're going to work with kids who are feeling anxious, feeling depressed. I mean, how many of us can raise our hand? We've experienced one of those two things or both. And
even as adults, let's be clear.
and what's their, when you work with them, when you work with these kids, what is their dream? Where do they want to get to in battling that, however that looks, or moving beyond that? What's sort of the end goal?
I think so. No kid wakes up and says, I want to heal myself through songwriting, right? No, most of the kids that I hate using that word. They're not kids, they're young adults. Most of them that I'm working with are already expressing themselves in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through art or through poetry predominantly, but they don't necessarily, or maybe they've even started writing songs, but they're not quite sure that they're good enough. And again, that whole fear of failure mindset sort of kicks in. So I'm working with teenagers at the moment who are writing poetry and want to push it a little further. B, are looking at something to ease their boredom because of isolation and at-home schooling. But mostly I'm working with kids who want to be rock stars. They want to write their song because they want to be the next Taylor Swift, or they want to be the next Justin Bieber or Drake or whatever. And you know, it's through, you know, epic other young people that are on a world stage, a world platform, that are, you know, showing that it's possible. Well, okay, cool, come to me and let's make, you know, let's write those songs. Let's help you write your first album, but make sure that it means something. Because, you know, I don't know how familiar you are with Taylor Swift or Beyonce's music, for example, but, you know, their music makes you feel something, whether it's empowered, whether it's energetic, whether it's pissed off, whether it's, you know, fierce or really, really positive. They're, you know, the songs from a lot of those artists, a lot of the artists today, you know, drive us to some kind of emotion. Imagine, and I'm sure that when you think back to when you're a teenager, that there are songs that you listened to that made you feel happy, sad, depressed, anxious, or, you know, ready to take on the world. For me, you know, Just a Girl by No Doubt totally ignited that flame of like, yes, I'm a feminist. Here we go, right? Girls Roll, awesome. The Spice Girls were another thing for me. Iron Maiden was a huge influence of mine. Their song Wasted Years, amazing. Like, yes, now's the time. I've had 10 brain surgeries. Why am I wasting my life? You know, so music is powerful in terms of motivating us into action. If you're a teenager who wants to be a rock star, why not use your own voice to also motivate and inspire yourself, and inspire and motivate those around you, your audience, your listeners, your fans.
Yeah, and it helps young people to me truly become who they truly are. It's like
Right.
It's like recognizing themselves and what's true for them and expressing that and inspiring others with that. It's just
Totally.
like, you know, we go to art galleries to look at the art because we want those emotions to be stirred. The heart is meant to feel. Let's do more of that. And that's what
Yeah.
music is all about. Like you say, it's invoking those feelings and allowing ourselves to feel them deeply.
Yeah. 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 And digging deep. Like I have several catchphrases with my clients. Is this is for whether people are coming to me for songwriting coaching or for artist coaching or for vocal coaching. Like the biggest thing you'll ever hear me say is dig deep. Always dig deep, because, you know, there's a huge difference between saying, you know, I woke up and the day was sunny, or saying, you know, the sunshine penetrated my soul. I knew it was going to be a great day. You know, there's a huge difference in that. And so that's where the poetry aspect comes in. And that's where people can really dig deeper into their message and further understand themselves, further identify, you know, dismantle the overwhelm that they have going on in their heads. Because as teenagers, let's be real, I don't know, even as an adult, I still have overwhelm in my head all the time. So that's when songwriting can help you to dig deeper and just unclutter and help you to, you know, hone in and fix yourself from the inside out.
Beautiful. Fix yourself from the inside out. That is the
Thank
biggest
you.
skill. And let your light shine. All that you are, get it all out there. It's a process, and I think once we start doing it, we will never stop. That's if we learn that, it just helps us so much become who we're all meant to be. It's always powerful. It's always so powerful. I'm so excited for you that you've discovered this about yourself, that you wrote that first book, which led you now to your second book, and working with young people, because to me, that's, you know, you're changing humanity, and we need a lot of change right now for the better. And so I'm just so excited to have had this opportunity to talk with you, difference maker, Emma G extraordinaire, through music and songwriting. Now, what if someone wants to get a copy of your book, or can they contact you? What's the best way?
Oh yeah. I'm like on everything. So Emma G Music, you can Google that and it'll take you to everything. But I'm involved with, so my website is emmagmusic.com, and that'll show you both my catalog as well as my coaching and empowerment work that I do with young people, as well as my vocal coaching, as well as my artist coaching, as well as the book, as well as what else do I do? Oh yeah, the Capital Groove Collective, which is a musicians collective that I also founded back in 2018. However, if you're more interested in just finding out more about working with me, just go to workwithemag.com and you'll get an opportunity there to either book a call with me or book your first session or 10. And yeah, I'm super accessible on all social media platforms as well. Emma G Music. The G stands for goddess. No, I'm kidding. This is why I do music and not comedy. I'm not very funny, Cheryl. It's okay. But I try. Goodness knows I try. But yeah, so that's how people can get in touch with me. And, I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. I'm here to, work with young people as much as possible, because I want to make sure that everybody has the same opportunities that I had growing up, to make sure that while shit happens, we can take the shit, use it as fertilizer, plant a garden, and live the rest of our lives knowing that we have the opportunity to find the beauty in the pain.
Thank you so much, Emma G. It has just given me so much joy to talk with you today and help you get your message out there. I would love more and more people to find you and find their way through you to their own creative expression in all the ways that you do. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time, Cheryl. You're a fantastic human, and I'm blessed to be around so many other phenomenal difference makers. So thank you.
Lots of love and light.
Back at you.